Hello everyone and welcome to a truly exceptional game from day 2 of the Grandchester Super United Croatia Blitz tournament. It is Maxim Vachier-Lagrave versus Alireza Firouzja, so the battle of two Frenchmen. And if you look at the ratings now, these are their Blitz rating. Maxim is 2764 and Alireza 2863. So you could say, of course, Alireza is much stronger. He is 100 points higher rated than Maxim Vachier-Lagrave. But in 2019, Maxim was rated 2939. So that was, absolutely an astonishing rating. If you look at it, I think it was the second best at the time. In 2017, Magnus Carlsen was something like 2984, so he was some 14 points shy of breaking 3000 rating in Blitz, which is absolutely incredible. Also, I think in classical, Magnus was very close to breaking 2900, some 12 points. But okay, just don't want you to get the wrong idea that Alireza is that much better than MVL in Blitz, because MVL in Blitz is truly a beast. And this game, both of them are playing like they're 3000. So this is truly an exceptional game. Let's check it out. Maxim with white opens with pawn to e4. We have pawn to e5 by Alireza and knight to f3. We have knight to c6, bishop to b5. Dorui Lopez is on the board. a6, Alireza opts for Morphy's defense, bishop to a4 and knight to f6. We have castles, bishop to e7, rook to e1 and b5. So this has all been played before, nothing new here to close Morphy's defense, bishop to b3, d6 and c3, castles, and now pawn to h3. And here there are many moves that can be played. Knight to a5, by far the most popular, but Alireza goes for rook to e8. And now, as Maxim's bishop is not attacked, he is free to do whatever he wants. And he goes for pawn to d4. He strikes in the center, bishop to b7, and now pawn to a3. We have bishop to f8, and now the position has been reached. Some of the moves that have been played as, Alireza's threat is to capture on d4 and go after the e4 pawn. You can see that the e4 pawn will be attacked twice, and you can defend this either by playing something like knight d2, you defend the pawn, and you play bishop to c2, you defend the pawn, or you just advance this pawn to d5, and then you don't have to worry about e captures on d4. So it all makes sense. However, Maxim plays bishop to a2, and you can see that neither of them are really wasting time. They started with 5 minutes, they still have well over 5 minutes. And it seems it's a pawn sacrifice. So is Alireza familiar with this, and should he capture? You know, if Maxim is offering you a pawn, a former 2900 Blitz player, it's really not a free pawn. But let's see what Alireza does. E captures on d4. He spent some 10 seconds on this. C captures on d4. Knight captures on e4. Okay, he grabs the pawn. And what was Maxim's idea here? Rook captures on e4. So he sacrifices the exchange. So first the pawn, now the exchange. Rook captures on e4, and now knight to g5. Going after the rook, but also connecting nicely with the pawn on f7. And you have to be careful. If you just play rook e7 to defend the pawn, queen h5, and you resign. There's nothing to do. Mate is being threatened. Once you play h6, knight captures, and that's game over. So after knight g5, pawn to d5, the only move that defends, but you don't see knight captures on e4, of course. Knight to c3. Maxim just continues development and also puts more pressure on the d5 pawn. Maxim is really not interested in this rook. We have rook captures on d4. Maxim sacrifices yet another pawn, and now queen to h5, going after checkmate and putting pressure on the f7 pawn. And you cannot defend both. h6, now comes knight captures on f7. Attacks the queen, queen e8, threatening to win material here by playing queen captures knight on f7, and now just knight captures on d5. And what is this? What is Maxim's plan? His plan is, should Alireza capture on f7, to play knight f6 check and pick up the queen. Queen captures, so bishop captures on f7, and Alireza can resign. So instead, after knight captures on d5, Alireza plays rook to c4. He blocks the bishop and he says, oh, take my rook. I urge you, take my rook. But Maxim, of course, doesn't. He plays knight captures on h6 with check. Do you capture? Well, not really. If you capture, then you no longer control the f6 square. If you capture, knight f6 check, and you resign. Again, off goes the queen. So king to h8 by Alireza, knight back to f7 check, king to g8, and now Maxim could choose to repeat moves with knight h6, knight to f7 check, but no, knight captures on c7, attacks the rook and the queen on e8, and again invites queen captures on f7. So now you can play it in trade, but Alireza goes for queen to e1 check instead. We have king to h2, queen captures on f2. And now what was Maxim's plan? Well, of course, bishop to b1. He does not want this rook. He wants to checkmate the king. Bishop to h7 is coming, and there's only one way to stop it. It's a pretty cool idea. Feel free to pause the video and try to find the only move that doesn't lose the game for Alireza while I give you a couple of seconds. As I'm sure all of you have found it, of course, the move is rook to c2. Alireza again offers the rook, and Maxim not eager to take it, but there is no way to continue. So he does play bishop captures on c2, queen captures, and now again Alireza is now offering a rook here. But if you capture this, look at Alireza's idea. Alireza wants to play knight to e5 and open up this path towards checkmate. Queen captures on g2 will be checkmate, and there is no defense. For example, you play queen g5, all of a sudden knight f3 check, and the g-pawn is pinned. You again apart with your queen. So here Alireza finds Maxim finds a very nice move, and that is queen to d5. Now he is the one threatening some very nasty discoveries, and Alireza plays knight to d8. And now look at this. What is this? The queen is attacked here. The knight is attacked, the bishop is defended. What can you play here? Also, the queen here attacks the knight. If the queen captures, this will come with check. This is, I mean, with a little time on the clock, this would, you could easily burn 20 minutes here in a classical game. But knight to h6 check is the only move that doesn't lose the game for Maxim, and he plays it. Knight to h6 opens up a double check towards the black king. King to h, or you go king to h8, and then this is checkmate, so you have to attack the knight. King h7, and now comes queen to f5 with check. What do you play now? Of course, the queen here is hanging, and you have to trade queens. Queen captures, knight captures on f5, and now rook to c8 going after the knight, but the knight doesn't have any good squares, so you have to defend. Bishop to f4, g5, trying to win the knight on c7, bishop to g3, and king to g6. Attacking the knight, rook to f1 defending while activating the rook, and now bishop to e4, pinning the knight here, and not pinning the knight, attacking the knight, and knight to d6. Now attacking the rook, and well, it does seem like you can capture this knight, but if rook captures on f7, on c7, then rook captures on f8. So bishop captures on d6, we have bishop captures on d6, and now knight to f7. Goes after the bishop here, bishop back to g3, and knight to h6. And after all this mess, now we have an endgame where Maxim is up a pawn. So can he win this? He has 2 minutes on the clock, Alireza already down to 16 seconds. And okay, well, you could... instead of this, you could maybe play bishop to b7 to defend the pawn, but Alireza says, all right, I'm not playing this materialistically, now it's time to go after the white king. So okay, Maxim captures on a6, we have knight to f5, and rook to e1. Attacks the bishop here, bishop back to b7, and knight back to b4. We have rook to d8, trying to get the rook to the back to the second rank, and now rook to e6 with check. King h5, and bishop to e1, stopping the rook from coming to d2, and now comes pawn to g4 check. Pawn to g4, stopping pawn to g4 check. We have rook to e5, attacking the knight, and king to g5. Rook captures on b5, and bishop to e4. We have h captures on g4, king captures, and now rook to e5 is very dangerous here. Also, rook to c5 can be played. Maxim goes for king to g1. He wants to sidestep any tricky business here. And now knight to e3. We have king to f2, knight to d1 with check. We have king to f1, and now knight captures on b2. We have rook to e5, attacking the bishop, and bishop to d3 with check is what Alireza goes for. Alireza is now playing exclusively on increment, so he misses king f4. With king to f4, it's still very much a draw, but after bishop to d3 check, he just trades down into a a most unfavorable position for him. So okay, knight captures on d3, knight captures rook e4 check, king to f5, and rook to e3. We have knight to e5 and pawn to a4. Not just advancing the pawn, but also clearing the a3 square for the rook. As we all know, you have to put the rook behind the passed pawn. Knight g4 attacks the rook, rook to a3. Now Maxim is just up 2 pawns, and it's time to push them. We have king to e4, king to e2. Knight e5, we have pawn to a5. Rook to g8 goes after the g2 pawn, pawn to g3. The bishop here doing a wonderful job. Knight to c4 attacks the rook, and rook to a4. Pins the knight, king to d5, and pawn to a6. We have rook to e8 with check, and just king to f1, again, getting away from any funny business. We have knight b2 attacks the rook, rook to a1, and now king to c6, hoping to get the king behind the pass pawn, but bishop to f2, stopping king b6. You don't have king to b7, and there's no way of reaching that pawn. We have knight e3 going after the bishop, but just rook a3, inviting the trade, because 2 pawns up in a rook endgame, of course, is completely winning. Knight to e5, and now king to g2. We have knight to c4, attacks the rook, just rook c3. You have to defend, king to d5, and pawn to a7. We have rook to a8, stopping the advancement of the pawn, and, well, you're not really threatening to capture. There's the bishop there, and that's pretty much it. Rook b3 by MVL, and he was in this position on move 65 that Alireza Firouzja resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. So beautiful, beautiful play by Maxime, and I'm guessing this line will be played a lot, as it has never been played before, and it offers some very, very serious play for white. The point is that after, let's say, king c6, rook b8, and there's no move for black here. You're just going to capture the rook, and that's it. If knight b6 defending the rook, first you capture it, obviously. You can't even capture it. I mean, it's completely pointless. But yeah, I mean, this beautiful, beautiful line played up until this point, bishop to f8, and like I said, like all of these known moves that were aimed at either guarding the e4 pawn or advancing it, so e captures and e4 is not an option. And then you have Maxime Vachier-Lagrave just plays bishop to a2, says you can have the pawn, you can have the exchange, you can have another pawn, and just creates a beautiful, beautiful masterpiece. So yeah, just when you think the Ruy Lopez is dead, it's fully explored, there's nothing to uncover, bishop to a2 by MVL. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Beautiful stuff by both of them, but MVL takes this one. And like I said, rating isn't everything. When Maxime plays his best, he is a 2900 in Blitz, most definitely. He had a few bad events, so yeah, he dropped a little bit, but I'm sure he will recover promptly. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank Lawrence Brazier, Edward Bazo, Kevin O'Grady, Rajashri Chowdhury, and James Eugene Cashman for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions, but mostly covering this spectacular event until it finishes. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.